Hey, welcome everybody to a special Dave Burgess Consulting Incorporated Facebook Live. I have two very special guests with me tonight, and we are here to celebrate a book birthday of a very special sort. Normally it's like the first day of a book, the launch of a book, but this is a 5-year celebration of a book that's made a big impact in the world of education. And as you are joining us, please throw your name over into the comments. Let us know where you are watching from. We would love to see. Oh, Monica already popping in. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hey, Monica.
Just recently, Shelley put a tweet out of Monica's incredible sketch notes for Lead Like a Pirate. And we absolutely love those. So thank you, Monica. You are so talented. And that's like so awesome. And I see Ryan Reed is joining us.
Yay.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for popping in here. And oh, I don't know if we know this woman or not, but
Hey,
girl.
The author of Plan Like a Pirate, Dawn Harris, has joined us tonight. And we have Esther here. Thank you so much for popping in. Lisa is here. Thank you. Good to see you. We are already all across the nation. I love it. It's so good to see. And I would like to introduce the special guests. And it's the two authors of Lead Like a Pirate, celebrating the 5-year anniversary. First of all, right next to me, we have the co-author, Shelley Burgess. Shelley, say hello.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. And thank you for this incredible 5-year journey that you have been on with us. It's been truly amazing. So glad you're here. Happy to be here.
Yes, and we also, all the way from Missouri, we have the other co-author, Beth Houf. Beth, welcome so much to the show.
Thank you. Also, I echo what Shelley said. It's been awesome because it's been, it's a family and it's a community and it's a support system. And I think that's the thing. It's so much more than a book. I know to us and to hear those names, especially because so many of these folks have been with us, not just 5 years, but it did take us a little bit of time to write the book too. So the time before that as well, really, and I've leaned in the past 3 years, especially really leaned into the support system that's here and to both of you as well. So thank you so much for doing this little birthday party.
I know. What was it? I mean, how long were we saying we were going to write Lead Like a Pirate before we actually finally finished? I mean, I think it had to have been at least 2 years.
Yes,
at
definitely.
Least 2 years, but we finally got it out there.
Yes.
I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't say this, but there could have even been someone who said something along the lines of like, listen, if you two don't write this book, I'm going to find someone who does. But I don't know. I don't want to like bring back any bad memories.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't remember that, Beth. Do you?
I know. It's just, I'm not sure.
That's like a big memory. That doesn't sound familiar.
Hello, everyone.
I see Christine has popped in saying hello to you there, Beth.
Hi, Christine. The better Jack's half, right? There you go.
Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. And Megan is here.
Hey, Megan.
Megan, I'm going to try to get a run in later tonight, just so you know. Kristen, of course, one of our Facebook Live.
Yay.
Hey,
Kristen. Good to see you here. And who else?
Oh, Darby.
Yes. Hello. Oh, and I don't know if either of you recognize this gentleman.
Hey!
Hey! Glad you're in the house,
The right leader is in the house.
I'm so used to seeing you on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook enough to see you.
Yeah. And Tamara, oh, it's like
Tamara.
A family reunion right here. It's a family reunion.
I know. Tamara Letter has joined us. Yes.
Awesome.
Hey, so for those who do not know you two, Beth, I'm going to start with you. Maybe if you could let us all know what your current role is in education and what's going on in your world right now.
Definitely. Well, I am currently the proud principal of Fulton Middle School, the same school I was principaling when we wrote Lead Like a Pirate. I am in my office right now. We just finished up our family partners meeting that we had tonight. And so I am here. And, it's wow, what 5 years it's been, right? So it's really, that's principaling every day. I have my two sons still. I haven't given them away. There's been times I thought about that, right? But my son Paul's now a senior, so that's been very interesting. And then my youngest Dawson is going to be with me next year here at the middle school. So as hard as the last, especially 2-3 years have been as a principal, I still love my job so much. And, you know, us going back through the book and LeadLAP has really helped to rekindle that. You know, in January, we really took a deep dive back into LeadLAP because I think a lot of leaders have been trying to lead like they did 5 years ago, and we had to adjust it. And so going back through the pieces, the chat last week was so powerful, especially Shelley really led us. Oh, there's Brad too. Hello, Brad. Shelley led us through that appreciation piece of the coaching. And again, you know, it changed my week. I needed that reboost to say, hey, I did used to do some things that I can tweak and change and do a little bit differently and come back. So that's me in a nutshell. Just getting the chance to serve our community and continue to spread the LeadLAP message, however and wherever I can.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Brad, good to see you. Brad is an Impress author of Reclaiming Our Calling. Fantastic book. You got to check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And also, Beth is humble, and so failed to mention a little something, and that is that she is also the NASSP National Principal of the Year for the work that she's been doing at her school. And just recently, I think we're in Washington, D.C. doing some work in that role. Is that right, Beth?
Yes, I had a chance to go to the advocacy conference that they had. And so having the opportunity to really use our voice as folks in the field, really going and talking to our lawmakers about, you know, what our priorities in school right now, because we have some major priorities, right? And so we really whittled those down to three. And number one was the whole taking care of our educators. How do we keep educators in the field? Because it's specifically teachers right now and where I'm at, but how do we get teachers paid better? And then how do we make sure there's not people waiting in the wings to take our jobs as leaders as well? So how do we make sure that our lawmakers know what we need? And so it's been, and then also mental health as well as infrastructure. But again, if we don't have great teachers and great educators, the rest, the mental health and the other can't happen. So just making sure that we use our voice. And I think that was something I didn't have. I mean, really both you and Shelley helped me so much. And I know you've helped so many others from your first book published to the however many, I don't even know what the count is right now. I'm behind.
I don't either.
I don't
Thank you for making me feel better. But again, it's like using your voice for advocacy. And if we're not telling not just the stories of our school, but the stories of our profession, who else is better to do that? So that was a couple weeks ago in Washington. So that was great. And to connect with leaders from all around the country as well.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah. And for Shelley, I think a lot of people know you as the co-founder of DBC Inc., but maybe aren't so familiar with your educational journey and what you were doing prior to that. So maybe let us know kind of a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, sure. So I started, hi, everybody. I started as an educator, actually as a middle school English teacher. I was actually in the classroom, actually not terribly long. I was really only there for about 4 years before I got tapped on the shoulder to move into more administrative roles. And so I worked actually as a language arts resource teacher and Title I coordinator, really kind of a resource teacher person in a school before moving into administration. And actually I started as a principal right about the age of 30, pregnant with our second child. I was hired 6 months pregnant with child number 2 and served as an elementary school principal, K-6. We were a K-6 school and did that for about 5 years before moving into district office administration. And I served as a director of student achievement and principal coach, and then ultimately was an assistant superintendent of educational leadership before stepping away as the publishing company was starting to take off. It needed some more attention. And so I stepped away from that role as assistant superintendent to work side by side with Dave in getting Dave Burgess Consulting and Publishing up and running. And that also gave me the opportunity, which I missed when my children were younger. Like I said, I had a 2.5-year-old and was pregnant when I started in administration. And so that gave me a wonderful opportunity to actually work from home and be able to spend some really needed great time with my kids sort of during that second half of their school career. So yeah, and so now we're full-time doing this. And then I will also admit spending at least once a week on the golf course, because that's like my newfound passion. So anyway.
So Beth, I'm going to maybe assume that this is, I need some context for this comment here. I don't know. What is this, the spa friend?
No, I think that has got to be Shelley. Shelley, have you gone to the spa?
I have gone to the spa for sure. I don't think that Anik and I have been to the spa.
I say, yeah, Anik, I don't know if I have. Maybe I missed that one.
I'm definitely friends with anyone who would like to go to the spa.
I will go to. Yeah, I'm happy. Like I'm available. I'm available about 15, like 20 minutes or so if we want to go tonight too. I'm game for that. I'm totally game.
And thank you, Tamara. It has been an incredible journey in education for Shelley
Thank
and for Beth.
you.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So maybe one of the things that we could do is to talk a little bit about this book and what it's meant for you and kind of like some of the impact that you've seen that it's had as educators have dived into it, read it, and started to implement it. Maybe one of the ways we could start is, what's something that stands out to each of you that really resonated with educators, really resonated with leaders, and you've seen had a big impact?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can start. I think one of the things that I think, and Beth and I have talked about this before, and in particular when the book first came out and over,
okay, good, because I was like, I must have forgot. So like, we must have had.
But I'm glad that I'm glad my memory is not that foggy. So I think that, one of the things that I think we would both agree on and talked about, as the book has come out is just I think our sort of, we wrote this book from the heart. We wrote this book from what we were experiencing day in and day out. It was real life, authentic, putting our lives and our work out there that we were living and breathing every day. And it's scary to sort of put that out into the world, and you don't know how people are going to react. And both of us, I think, were just so overwhelmed by the positive responses from all of you and the community and the messages that we've received over the years about how something that you read or that somebody read and it kept them in the profession. They were ready to leave or, quit or look into something beyond leadership, but then would read something and Lead Like a Pirate and feel refreshed and energized again. And messages like that have meant so much to both of us. And I think that, different people, different things resonate with different people. I know Beth was just talking about the chat that we did on Twitter last week, and we're doing an 8-week series on anchor conversations in the book. And actually it just popped up. I love Anchors of Appreciation so much. We actually hear that quite a bit, that sort of the model that we use for coaching, and in particular the A of Anchor and those messages of appreciation, are something that I think have resonated with a lot of leaders and have really sort of stood the test of time. And like Beth was saying, just even as evidenced by the Twitter chat that we had last week. So that's certainly one thing that we have heard a lot about in terms of impact, that coaching piece.
For sure. I think the Anchors of Appreciation is what I've noticed, maybe one of the most things I've noticed. Beth, how about you? What's something that you think is really from the book that stands out as something that's resonating with people?
I think a few different things. I definitely echo what Shelley says. I think that just the impact it continues to make, that evergreen piece that I know is something that's so important to both of you, is that it's something that while we wrote it 5 years ago, it still holds true. And when you read through and, and it's funny because, I think people think we have the book memorized. And so some people are like, what, on page 42, I'm like, I'm going to have to check 42 again. But I'll go back and read it. I'm like, my gosh, like this is good stuff. Like I need to reread my own words sometimes and go back to that. I think the biggest thing, and I share this, I love to speak on Lead Like a Pirate. When I have the opportunity, the past couple of years have slowed down. Just more for, I can't handle all of the things with the principalship and then trying to speak as much. But one of the things, that when I share it and when I get people coming back and talking to me, or the tweets that come from the presentations typically revolve around, Lead Like a Pirate is all about leading like you. That's what Lead Like a Pirate's about. It's not about leading like Beth Houf or Shelley Burgess or Dave Burgess or whoever. It's really about embracing that passion that you have and leading like you. And until I really understood that, and I tell my story all, like pretty much every time I speak, is I was ready to leave the field. And I had the chance to go to a principal conference and really do some personalized learning for myself. This was in 2014. And I had gone to they were get free food, nachos and wings, free nachos and wings and drinks, and had the chance, we're in line for those and bump into these principals from New Jersey. And then we end up hanging out the rest of the evening together. And I kind of told my story. I was done with education. And my person, that's now Jay Billy, who is a huge part of LeadLAP, he said, you're not burnt out. You don't have connections. You're the only person doing what you're doing in the building. Do you have a Twitter? And so I had a Twitter at that point with like 30 people that I followed for my Twitter workshop. And he said, you're not following the right people. And so he immediately took my phone and started following different people. And then he said, do you know Dave Burgess? And I said, no, I don't know who this is. And he said, you've got to hear him speak. He's got this like it was whatever, Skype. He's going to Skype, whatever that was, right? In 2014, we had no idea about what all this was. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I was still I was a skeptic though, because I'd led like a rock star and my hair is on fire and all the leading likes. And I was like, what's different here? And so I share this. I always share it. I said, I still went back and Googled Teach Like a Pirate. And I found a piece written by Shelley. And it was all about leading like a pirate. And so reading through that, I realized, okay, there's something here. And I listened to Dave, and Dave's just a little bit excited and passionate, right, when he speaks. And so I was like, okay, I got to check this out. And I read Teach Like a Pirate, and it changed my life. It really changed my life because it helped me realize I need to lead like me. I'm trying to lead like I think I'm supposed to lead, or like the principal before me led. And so I really became, I became really one with myself and my leadership style, and came back and completely transformed my leadership, and definitely didn't want to change fields anymore. And so I think for me, we have those peaks and valleys in our times, and COVID's really pushed it. There's been times when I said, I don't know if I can do this another day. I really don't know, but I go back to my roots. I go back to my why, I go back to my passion. And that's how I kind of come back out of that. So I think sharing that story for me though is the whole, like the jewel of LeadLAP is it brings people together, and there'll be new people that have never read the book that they'll read it and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd read this book however many years ago. So anyways, there's just a few of the things that I think are big pieces for me, as well as that community and support system, big time.
Absolutely. And I don't know the people who are listening to us, Beth, I don't know if any of them, even if they realize, or how many people realize, and I love this story. I mean, Beth and I got connected through social media, and through sort of the pirate work. And we were, I don't think I was a principal anymore at the time. I think I had moved in, I was in the district office role. And but we connected, we became friends. We decided we were going to write the book together. We actually started working on the book and writing. We'd never met in person. I mean, we had never sat side by side, at a table. And I mean, I think we were maybe halfway through before we finally
definitely
got together and met in person. And I mean, I think that in and of itself, and you're talking about Twitter and the connections and through the conference it's such a powerful story about the connections that we've been able to make through social media. And I mean, I consider you one of my dearest friends, and the connection, and one of the most amazing colleagues to work with over the years. And all of that started through social media connections. It's so powerful.
I think we just don't realize sometimes the power of that. And that's I met Dave through that piece, and then immediately, because that was like in July. In October, by October, you and I were able to get connected, and then I started doing the chat with you on Saturday mornings. And then I think it was the summer after that. I mean, we had written most of the book. It's powerful. And I think that's the part that I always share with people is like, go to these conferences and don't just sit in your room, like go meet people, go out there and meet people, especially young principals. That's one thing that I work so hard at helping mentor, is that you've got to connect with people, because that's what saves you on those hard days. And we didn't write a huge amount about resting like a pirate. I think balance like a pirate helps a lot with that, is just the value of the fun side too, of like making sure that you enjoy you, and you take time for you, and you take time to rest like a pirate, and you do those things, because I think we forget about that as leaders. We forget that it's okay, and not only okay, but encouraged to rest, not just on the weekends, not just when you have a random day, like embed a little bit of that every single time, every single week. Your golf, like what you talked about with golf, like you need that to be better on the other end of things, and that's okay. So I think that's another piece that comes out of there as well.
So far as I have just started to try to learn the golf, I've not found it very restful. I've found it or restorative. I found it incredibly frustrating, and I'm more likely to smash things after a session. You do like to be perfect at things right away.
So
I'm not. I'll drive you around, but I hate. I'm not a golf is not. No, thank you.
So
I was just gonna say-
Dawn's, I put this comment up from Dawn because for those of you who are not connected to the LeadLAP Chat on Twitter, highly recommend it. It is 9:30 Central in the morning on Saturdays. It is fantastic. It's usually only 30 or 40 minutes long. You get in, get some inspiration, some knowledge, get a chance to connect and collaborate with other people and who are going through some of the same leadership struggles that you are. It's a fantastic professional learning network. And Dawn is saying that it's been life-changing, but Dawn's impact, along with Tracy Browder, has been life-changing for the LeadLAP Chat. And so Shelley, Beth, and Dawn and Tracy have just done some fantastic work recently over the last, maybe 18 months or so, just doing some powerful. I mean, the chat's been going for years and years, but Dawn and Tracy have also added some really keen insights and some energy to that chat as well.
We've been so incredibly fortunate to have connected with Dawn and Tracy and the insights and Dawn, I know you're here. I haven't seen if Tracy's here or not, but the insights that both Dawn and Tracy bring to LeadLAP, it's really elevated the chat in a whole new way. And we've been so fortunate to learn alongside them and with them and from them. Or like Dave said, over the last 18 months. So thank you to both of you and all of the LeadLAP community who have embraced Dawn and Tracy as co-hosts and moderators of the chat. So it's been wonderful.
They've also helped to teach us that equity, you've got to, we needed to do a deep dive into equity work, but we also, I feel like because of the work we've done with them, because of what they've helped me learn, that the equity lens is always on, like that I have my equity lens now. And any of the work that we're doing, if we're talking about anchors of appreciation, or if we're going to talk about honoring voice and choice or whatever it is, noticing the impact of our work is really, equity cannot continue to be a side dish. It's got to be the main dish, and it's got to be what we always are doing. Everything we do or don't do, we have to look at through an equity lens. And so their work with us on that, they were instrumental in making that happen.
Absolutely.
And so appreciative.
And I don't know if the group who's watching is familiar with Dawn's work in Plan Like a Pirate, but it is outstanding. It is an outstanding book, and it is a book about planning and planning for and creating amazing classrooms for kids. And equity is front and center, and anti-racist education is front and center in that work. It's really, really powerful.
So we have a question here, Amy. Who has popped in, would LeadLAP be a good resource for teachers too? What say you?
Go ahead, Shelley.
You know what? I think LeadLAP, and we actually were really deliberate about writing Lead Like a Pirate for a wider audience than just principals. Beth and I had both been in the principal role. Beth's still in the principal role. I think we actually were really deliberate.
Sorry, that's my phone. That's my phone going off.
Okay.
It's actually you talking on my phone.
I sounded very tinny. So, but we were very deliberate, even though I think we had primarily in our minds the principal role as we were working on the book. We were very deliberate to try to broaden the audience to anyone who serves in any kind of leadership role. And so from our perspective, teachers are leaders, and there are so many teacher leaders in our school who are there because they've stepped up and wanted to be, or because they are, because people follow them and people look to them in a whole variety of ways and for a whole variety of things. And so we have found, and we certainly have had lots of responses from teachers. We have lots of teachers who participate in the LeadLAP Chat, who have read the book and who have really found it to resonate in many, many ways. So I do think it's appropriate, a very appropriate book for teachers to read. I don't know, Beth, if you want to add to that.
Definitely. Well, I think I was going to actually mention that we have several in the live tonight too, from Darby to Monica to Tara to Dawn. I mean, and I think that's the thing too, that you kind of get something different from it, and we all lead in different roles. And I think that's the thing. You don't have to have the title that makes you like the leadership title necessarily. And actually sometimes you can lead change more quickly when you don't have the principal title. So whether or not, because no matter what, I mean, things change when you change roles. But the other thing too is I think the piece, and I know we'll get to this probably maybe this summer if we continue on our journey with looking at LeadLAP, is that we're all on the same team. And I think that's something right now more than ever we have to embrace, because there's so much, I don't even know the right word. I have lots of words coming to my mind: disrespect, just towards the education profession and teachers in general. Right now, it's like we went from heroes all the way to, and now it's so disheartening watching the national landscape and conversations. And so right now, more than ever, we have to come together as administrators and teachers and support staff to really, make it happen. And Darby, it's great that Darby's in here, because Darby actually works for our Missouri State Teachers Association. She's been a teacher in one of our Missouri State Teachers of the Year in 2017. And so Darby and I actually we presented together looking at, Missouri put out a teacher survey, just kind of looking at what are things that are the roadblocks that you're having to being, to education right now. Are you thinking about leaving? And then NASSP put out something for principals. And so we're kind of coming at it together of, hey, look, it's not a competition of who, right now it's all of us in together. And how can, from the principal lens, one of the biggest things that from the survey, it said that classroom management is a struggle. But then what we started dissecting in our state and then at the national level now is, but what are we doing to train principals on how to handle discipline? You see all that, if you get into some of the TikTok stuff, I see these TikToks like, oh, I sent my kid out and he came back with a kitty and a kitten and a lollipop, 5 minutes later. And it's like, okay, let's look at this, because who's teaching principals how to do things effectively when we think about that? And when I was in principal school, no one said, hey, this is how you handle a discipline situation. Right. So again, like, how can we come together? And I'm blessed to get to do that work. I think Darby and I, we and another principal or teacher of the year for Missouri, we are speaking at our a conference that includes superintendents this week on similar things. So
wanted to say hello to Andrew, who's popped in the chat. Andrew is a DBC Inc. author who has yet to release this book, but his book is coming together and is soon going to be hitting the streets. And it's about personalized learning, creating personalized learning journeys for kids and empowering them to choose how they work through their curriculum. I think it's going to be a super powerful book. So hello, Andrew. It's good to see you here. The other thing that's been amazing about Lead Like a Pirate and that whole journey, and Beth, you mentioned Balance Like a Pirate at one point, which is by Jessica Cabine, Sarah Johnson, Jessica Johnson. And then this whole question about, is this good for teachers or people in other roles? There's Neely's book about leading from different roles in the school site. And so there's been this whole series that has kind of sprung out of Lead Like a Pirate, which are the Lead Like a Pirate guides. And maybe if you could let us know kind of why that came to be and how that's become a very powerful part of the Lead Like a Pirate world. Sure. I know when I wrote Teach Like a Pirate, one of the things that I tell people all the time is I wasn't trying to write the encyclopedia of teaching. I don't know everything. This was my story. This was my journey. These were things that have been effective for me. But then it was about amplifying the voices of other people who had messages that could complement that. And I think, that's something that you have done so well with the guidebook series. So maybe if you could address the guidebook series.
Well, and I think what you just said, Dave, is really a part of what we had talked about around it, is that we have so many, Beth and I have been so blessed to work with the Lead Like a Pirate community for years, and in, our weekly Twitter chats and a variety, and just a variety of ways we both have been out speaking and talking and talking with people and doing things. And so we've had all of this interaction. And, one of the things that we talked about on a regular basis was the incredible leaders that we were, like I said, blessed to engage with through the work that we were doing with LeadLAP and Lead Like a Pirate. And that's really what it became. There are all these other people, all these other leaders that we're seeing do just incredible things. And we see the things they share at conferences, in the chat. We became friends with people in a variety of ways. And that was really, the next step for us in Lead Like a Pirate is helping amplify all those other voices and great things and highlight great things that other people are doing. And we really, we also really wanted to do things, and it's leadership is, and you were talking about leadership is such a huge, you couldn't write everything about, you know, being a good school leader or leader in any role in one book, it would be too long. And so we really were interested in guidebooks that were a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, highly practical and actionable, that really took one little piece of leadership and made that, and just really exploded. How do you really get this part going in your school, with lots of practical tools and tips for people who are in the role? So like Jay Billy's book is Lead with Culture, is idea after idea after idea on how to build a positive culture in your school. You know, Balance Like a Pirate is that idea after idea after idea about how do you find balance, you know, in this work that can be all consuming. And so each one of them, Mandy's book on Lead with Literacy, is how do you, if literacy is, you know, hugely important to you in your school, how do you as a leader make that evident and happen in your school? So they're all Lead with Instructional Rounds. Vicky's book, you know, is all about, you want to take this to a whole new level, and how do you do it? You really want to get it going in your school. So each one of the books, and I know I didn't mention them all, it's taking one small piece of leadership and highlighting, and they're all practitioners doing the work. And it's the same, this is my story of how I did this in my school with and with real kids and real staff and real, you know, this is, and the bumps along the way, and but that's what they are, and we love them, and they really seem to have resonated with people as well.
Definitely. Yep. I mean, Shelley pretty much hit all of it, but the common thread between all of them is their foundation in LeadLAP. I mean, their foundation is definitely in that pirate mentality, as well as, hey, Stephanie too. Oh, it's exciting to see new faces pop up. I love that. So I think that's a big piece, is at the foundation of Lead Like a Pirate. And so there's still, you know, because sometimes you don't want to stray from that core, and that's what's great. And I have one in front of me, so I have this one. Our newest one is right in front of me right now. I'm actually getting ready to blog for NASSP. It's just on what it means to be a woman principal, lady principal, or woman in leadership. I don't even know what exactly it's going to be, but I'll release it soon, so you'll see.
Well, we can't wait to read it.
Yeah, we'll see what it's going to be about. Well,
after that introduction, we're on.
I know, right? It's going to be really great. Hey, come on now! It's like 7:30 after a super long day at work, so I'm glad I have the words I have. But really, it's interesting because I never looked at myself as a female principal. Like, I never thought of myself like in that way until I've read more books about women in leadership, and I'm like, okay, well, no wonder I never thought of it that way, but now I do. And so this book has really helped me personally too, because it's really given me some gems. They include so much wisdom from other contributors as well. So just yeah. So it will be phenomenal. I promise now that I've said that.
It's been amazing to see the energy around that message, that book right now, and how many book studies are springing up around it. And we are super proud of that book and how well it's doing right now and the impact it's having. So that's fantastic. So She Leads. By the way, if you want to get connected with Beth and Shelley, which hopefully you do, first of all, they have a website, which is leadlikeapirate.net. leadlikeapirate.net. And there's a whole series of blogs on each. Right now, there's blogs going up on each letter of the Anchor coaching system. If you're interested in learning more and diving deeper into that, you can go back and access all their previous blogs. And Beth, if someone wants to connect with you, what is the best way to connect with you?
Really, the best way to connect is either through the website. We've got some contact information, but most of my things are very easy to. So Beth Houf, BETHHOUF @gmail.com, or at Beth Houf on Twitter. A Twitter DM is, I'll be honest, I'm struggling to keep up right now. So it is just, but if you reach out, and then I will definitely to get in touch as well. I try really hard to continue to be active on Twitter with posting about what we've got going on in our school. Because again, some of the best ideas I get are from others on social media. And again, I feel very much part of my mission is that I will not accept the negativity that continues to permeate social media. So, but if we're not out there spreading the good news, the negativity is going to win. So, I mean, figuring out how to continue to show the great things that are going on in our schools, because amazing things are happening every single day. Just sometimes it gets lost in not sharing that story out. So thank you. Thank you, Tara, for showing that, for putting that up there as well.
So you have Beth on Twitter, you have Beth, the leadlikeapirate.net site. And Shelley, where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Same places in terms of the website. So leadlikeapirate.net. We have a Facebook page as well. We have a Lead Like a Pirate Facebook page. On Twitter, I'm at Burgess_Shelley. I think I'm the same on Instagram. So all those social media spaces, and then email always works for me too. And it's Shelley. If you don't put that second E in, it's not going to go to me. So it's Shelley with an EY on the end, but it's Shelley at DaveBurgessConsulting.com. And so, yeah, pretty much any of those work.
We think that there's possibly been maybe 150 to 200 different book proposals to Shelley with no E at DaveBurgessConsulting.com. So maybe some of the greatest books in the history of the world are sitting in somebody else's inbox. We're not sure, but make sure you get that second E in there, Shelley, EY on the end. And I just want to also know before you go, every once in a while you get like a real catch for something, like an endorsement for a book or something like that. And like, I was just kind of like shocked to see to read your foreword. It was one of the best forewords I've ever read.
Do we know that guy who wrote it, Beth?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've read.
I can't even remember who that was now. I don't know.
Sometimes they go out of style. But anyway, so thank you to everyone for joining us to help celebrate with Shelley and Beth the 5th anniversary, 5th birthday of Lead Like a Pirate. If you have not read it, please grab this book. It's going to change your life. If you have read it, I can guarantee you if you reread it, you're going to draw new things out of it because you're in a new place in your life right now. And as Beth said, like Beth wrote it with Shelley. And when she reads it, she's still picking out new things. And I think Shelley's the same way. Things pop out to you like, oh, and things resonate with you when you're a different spot in your life. So even if you've read it in the past, pick it up again, read through it. And I think you're going to be pleased.
Or you could listen to Beth and me read it on audiobook. I know you could actually hear it in our own voices on audiobook.
Legit our own voices. That was quite the experience. And it was awesome.
Yes, it was.
And once again, thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your night tonight to join us. We know it's a busy week for everybody. So thank you so much for joining, popping into the comments. Even if you're just watching, we really appreciate you. And we wish you all a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.